Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's Game of Thrones video on defending Tommen. So this is just going to be a real quick addition to my review of Season 5, Episode 4, The Sons of the Harpy, which I'll put a link to in the description below in case you haven't seen that. And like that review, this will be free of spoilers, provided you have seen up to Season 5, Episode 4. So I typically make my reviews immediately after I watch the episode and before I get a chance to see what others are saying about the episode. Sometimes I'll comment on what others are saying about it in the discussion video I do with Atkin Tomko later on in the week. But this week there was something I didn't mention in that video either because it slipped my mind. I didn't really, start to bother me until after I made that video as well. So I felt strongly enough about it that I wanted to make this quick video. And that is, there's been a lot of criticism about my boy Tommen this week, and I mean a lot of criticism. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you know I like Tommen is one of my favorite characters on Game of Thrones. I was particularly excited to see how the show would be handling his storyline this season, and so far I have not been disappointed. That being said, although I think Tommen's an interesting character to watch, I know that as a person he has some flaws such as being too naive, inexperienced, and easily manipulated, and these traits are part of the reason I find him such an interesting character to watch. But after this week's episode, I heard a lot of criticism levied against him that I think is just unfair, and I don't think he's getting enough credit. Some people are going as far to say that they hate Tommen or are highly annoyed by him. In particular was his decision to not attack the Faith Militant who were blocking his path to see the High Sparrow. Many had called this a cowardly decision and the wrong one. And I couldn't possibly disagree more. In my review of this episode, I mentioned that it was a good thing Joffrey wasn't there because he would have just started killing everyone. And what I may not have made crystal clear is that that would have been a very bad thing and overall a very stupid move. And part of the reason I didn't make this clear was because I thought it was pretty self-evident that it went without saying, but apparently not. I did hear one reviewer who agreed with me that Tommen made the right decision, but his reasoning was that had Tommen killed all these followers of the faith on the steps of Baelor, it would have been very bad PR and would have turned the people of King's Landing against him, and he would start to lose support. Although I definitely agree with that reasoning, I think there's a more obvious and immediate reason to why Tommen's move here was one born out of wisdom and not cowardice. So, have a look at this scene and access the situation for a moment. Tommen has a handful of Kingsguard and a couple of Lannister soldiers who appear to be, at best, evenly matched by Faith Militant members and at worst outnumbered by them. And behind Tommen was a large group of commoners, or sparrows if you will, that are shouting things at him like bastard and abomination. So obviously there's a lot of hate and anger towards him from this huge crowd of people. So now I would like to remind you what happened last time the king decided to piss off an angry crowd of people that surrounded him. Didn't go so well, did it? And in this case, there's not only an angry mob, but also a group of trained soldiers blocking their path as well. The point being, had Tommen given the order for the Kingsguard to attack, he'd likely be dead by now. The large group of people obviously had no respect for him as king, and had he struck first, they would have just sworn on him just like the other mob did. And the other mob managed to kill a whole bunch of people. And this situation would be even worse because you have trained Faith Militant soldiers who equally number the amount of guards attacking from the front while a huge crowd attacked from behind. They wouldn't have stood a chance. It's just ridiculous. You'd just be dead. And you can tell that as those people are yelling things at Tommen, he's accessing the situation and drawing all these same conclusions I just drew, and realizing that even if he did survive a potential confrontation, nothing good would come of it, and it would ultimately just weaken his position. Sure, he's a little scared. He should be. That's part of the reason why he's smart, because we've seen what happens when someone is stupid and doesn't think things through, and just is like, oh, fuck it, I'm king, I'll do whatever I want. This happens.
Kill them! Kill them all!
So Tommen is more wise and an overall smarter king than Joffrey. But where Tommen can be criticized for is then going back and just giving up. As Marjorie rightfully pointed out, he's the king. He just let himself be pushed around by a group of religious fanatics. It does make him come off as weak. He should have regrouped and devised another plan to deal with the situation. But the main reason he didn't is because, like I said before, he's inexperienced and thus needs guidance from advisors with experience. That would typically be the case with an inexperienced king. But Cersei had pretty much sent all his advisors away, making her, his only advisor, her. And although she denies it, she is actively working against him in this case and setting him up to fail. So personally, I blame Cersei more for his failure than Tommen, because he's doing the best an inexperienced king can do. If he was really smart, though, he would realize his mother's working against him and send for another advisor, such as his Uncle Kevin. But I never claimed that he was as smart as he needs to be. He's still young and naive, as I said at the start. He's just not as reckless as Joffrey, and he made the right decision on the sept, and he should be commended rather than criticized for it. So that's it for my video on Tommen. Be sure to check out my channel for other Game of Thrones reviews, including my weekly episode review, and thanks a lot for watching.